In the Eastern European battlefield of Moshova, soldiers have to face an invisible entity that can only be observed with spectral lenses. The soldiers, who encountered them, all died immediately. The autopsy shows that their internal organs were frozen and the flesh was burned and corroded. So, are those invisible entities due to human resentment that became ghosts for revenge? They are an advanced technology that turns humans into invincible warriors. Hello everyone, and today's movie is Spectral from 2016. Our main male character's name is Clyde, currently working at the U.S. Defense Research Institute. He and his friend created a new weapon through spectral lenses. It can cause the temperature of the material to rise to 1,000 degrees within a second. The U.S. Department of Defense intends to turn it into a murder weapon to dominate the battlefield. However, Clyde did not agree because he wanted his research to be used only for defense. Imagine if someone is shot by this thing, they will suffer as if they were dropped into red-hot lava. That afternoon, the male lead received a new task. The U.S. military in Moshova suddenly battled an invisible entity, capable of killing people immediately. Therefore, they need Clyde to help investigate what it is. Very quickly, he arrived at the Moshova military base and was welcomed by Major General Orlando. He showed Clyde a video of the soldiers on the battlefield. Just by looking, he discovered something unusual. With more than 30 years of experience in his field, Clyde stated that the light that suddenly appeared in the video was not image noise. However, he did not know what it was. Previously, a soldier had encountered it, so the Major General took Clyde to meet the CIA intelligence officer named Madison. The officer showed both of them the last image that the poor soldier saw before dying. He also discovered that strange light through the protective glass. Then, suddenly it rushed at him and killed him immediately. The autopsy shows that his internal organs were frozen and his flesh was burned and completely corroded. Not only soldiers, but also people in the area were attacked. They think that these entities are the souls of resentment that cannot escape, so they stay in the world to harm people. And Madison said that the enemy used advanced, cruel technology. However, Clyde thought differently. As a scientist, he did not jump to conclusions but needed more evidence. To clarify the truth, he decided to use his invention, that is, the spectral camera. It can capture tangible or invisible entities. As long as something appears, it will not be able to escape. Immediately, the Major General mobilized a task force to support Clyde. They moved in armored vehicles to the battlefield to record images of unknown entities and save trapped soldiers. They discovered that the bodies of those they needed to save had grass growing on them. There were no wounds on the bodies. The scene also showed no signs of fire or explosion. Clyde, along with Madison and the commander, observed the situation through the camera. They discovered a soldier in a shower room acting suspiciously and saw the soldiers panic. It turned out that it was a lucky soldier. He panicked, saying that the attacker was not human. At the same time, the soldiers upstairs saw unusual things through protective glass. The unknown entity slowly appeared, causing the soldier to wet himself from fear. Madison ordered them to shoot, but it did not cause any damage. The poor soldier was immediately killed by the entity. The remaining members quickly ran to the hospital, but they all met the same fate. They did not know what they were fighting, so they were very confused. Clyde saw the dangerous situation and hurriedly asked the commander to order a withdrawal. The soldiers hurriedly ran out of the building, and those near windows were also attacked. In just a short time, more than half of the team died. Through the lens of the ultraspectral camera, Clyde finally saw the true appearance of this unknown entity. Because many of his brothers died in the battle, the commander angrily rushed out to launch a rocket at them. The entity, now beyond doubt, not only was unharmed, but also rushed to kill the commander right before Clyde's eyes. The remaining soldiers who did not know how to fight this entity could only jump onto the vehicles and flee. But on the way, they accidentally drove into a rebel trap. As a result, the two armored vehicles were flipped over and then crashed. Clyde and the remaining soldiers temporarily ran into a deserted factory to hide. Preliminary statistics showed that the task force had suffered 19 casualties. Due to the explosion's impact, Madison was slightly in shock. The soldiers were now very scared and helpless. Based on what they saw, Clyde said that the entity is shaped like a person. It has expressions and thoughts, but what it is, he is not sure. Currently, everyone's protective glasses were broken. They were like sitting ducks. Clyde quickly set up his spectral camera and placed it in a high place so that soldiers could see the shape of the invisible entity with the naked eye. Unexpectedly, there was not only one, but a whole group. The group did not fight back and was now facing a herd of these. How could they survive? Just when they were about to give up, they discovered their weakness. All unknown entities are blocked by an iron wall and cannot move forward. The strange thing is that this building is surrounded by iron. This means that someone has used it to protect themselves inside. As expected, after searching, they found the two Sari sisters. The team then learned that the ironworker was the father of the two children. He was about to provide more clues, but was killed by the entity. Near the victim's body, they found a piece of ceramic and a location map called Masarov. She said that those entities came from this place. At this time, a soldier had contacted the general, but it would take about 10 hours for a helicopter to pick them up. Seeing a large amount of iron here, Clyde quickly asked the soldiers to use it to make new weapons. And he turned his spectral camera into a headlight so they could see unknown entities with the naked eye. Once everything was prepared, Clyde discovered that the building where they were hiding was completely surrounded. The entities came through the power lines, trying to attack. Right now, fear and despair covered each person's mind. If they did not do anything, they would definitely die. So the soldiers had no choice but to risk their lives to open an escape route. They threw iron fragmentation grenades to hold off the enemy. But this was only effective for a short time. The enemy quickly counterattacked, causing many soldiers to die. In this critical situation, Clyde's camera suddenly stopped working. At this moment, the Trenchite army drove a tank to the scene. This brought a ray of hope to everyone. They thought that the tank's artillery shells would cause some damage to the entities. But after firing across the whole scene, the entities were still there. The Trenchite troops were immediately attacked. Whenever they passed through people, it meant certain death. Even heavy tanks were easily destroyed. The balance now tilted completely toward the mysterious entities. There was little hope for the soldiers. When they were about to die, the military helicopter finally arrived. However, the enemy was not about to let them leave easily. In this critical moment, Clyde decided to take action. He wore a full suit of iron armor. Taking advantage of the helicopter's downdraft, he moved toward the ghost-free zone. Thanks to that, the remaining survivors could board the helicopter and fly away. Returning to the base, Sari told Clyde that her father had created a device at the Masarov power plant, and those devilish entities also came from that place. Right then, the male lead suddenly froze for 5 seconds. The soldier who had escaped death earlier had hidden under a ceramic tub, which saved his life. Earlier, when the evil entities attacked, they couldn't penetrate the tank because it was covered with a ceramic layer. This also means that they are not naturally occurring, but were created. In the world, there are 4 states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. There is also a condensate called Bose-Einstein, created by humans. It cannot pass through ceramic items, but can pass through walls. Because of the extremely low temperature, anything that contacts it will die. This fits the clues at the scene. To create Bose-Einstein condensate, a large amount of energy is needed. Therefore, the Masarov nuclear power plant where Sari's father worked created these devils. A plasma discharge should be able to destroy them. Under Clyde's direction, everyone quickly removed components from existing weapons. Then they made plasma guns. The final battle began immediately. The remaining elite warriors all went by plane to the Masarov nuclear factory. To test the plasma launcher, the soldiers temporarily took 4 batteries from a machine and attached them to the gun. Then they aimed straight at an approaching entity and pulled the trigger. The moment the plasma bullet hit the enemy, it created a large explosion. They successfully destroyed one entity. This made the soldiers more confident. They immediately jumped from the plane to attack the enemy's strongholds. At the same time, Clyde and a few Special Forces soldiers infiltrated the power plant. He wanted to uncover the real secret behind this. But shortly after entering, the group encountered an entity. This entity was extraordinary, as it could dodge all plasma gunfire. They were now like rats in a trap, only able to struggle. To protect Clyde and complete the mission, they willingly sacrificed themselves. Meanwhile, the battle outside was extremely fierce. Previously, unable to see them or fight back, the soldiers were in constant fear. Now they could see the entities and had plasma guns, so they could fight on equal terms. Back to Clyde's group. After opening the iron door, they finally uncovered the truth. This place was a Bose-Einstein production line. Machines were constantly creating new immortal warriors.
They discovered countless imprisoned entities. There were also many destroyed cell doors. Researchers here had been killed by the entities. The group found the device powering these entities. Cutting its energy would solve everything. The entities saw this and shattered the glass door to attack. But with plasma guns, they easily killed them. When everyone thought it was over, the remaining entities appeared. The supposedly dead entities suddenly revived and merged together. They formed a giant monster with power far superior to any individual entity. Plasma guns were now useless against it. The monster attacked continuously, killing many soldiers. Clyde connected all the plasma guns for a final shot. The massive blast threw him back. The explosion shattered all the containment glass in the factory. As entities prepared to pass through the soldiers, Clyde promptly cut off their energy. Clyde and Madison entered a room. It was designed to turn people into Bose-Einstein condensate. Each entity was once a complete person, transformed by a mad scientist. Not wanting them to suffer anymore, Clyde disconnected the life support power to liberate them. The movie ends here. What do you think about the movie? Leave a comment below. Goodbye, and see you again in my next videos.